Whoa, good morning. Let's focus there a little bit. There it goes. Okay. We welcome you to the another edition of Meet the Pastor Group Leaders. All right. It's Monday morning. Snow's flying a little bit outside. I guess we're in Michigan still, and it's wintertime. I try to be quick this morning. I just want to say thank you so much for those that gave feedback last week. You were very specific questions that you used. What worked well? I didn't hear any complaints. I did hear there was some feedback as far as the being able to see the slides clearly in our service. I changed the background. I also enlarged the font. This is I don't mean this in a negative way, but my sound people, I talk quite often back there with them, and they see the slides fine as far as visible. And so I guess I can say this way: there's a lot of seats available towards the front of our church. And so if there may be some eye issues going on a little bit, and so if you're having difficulty or those in your group are having difficulty, just encourage them to move forward. I know one person said they could turn around backwards and see if it's fine. Well, that's because it's closer to them. And so either towards the middle of the aisle or up front and shorten the distance, I think it'd be a little easier. Anyways, if that's just a need. Also, I try to be clear enough that if they close their eyes, they could be able to get the points as well. If they listen, some people have a little bit of trouble. Again, we're learning a new thing a little bit. So just want to let you know that. But I've made them as big as I can this last week. So if it's still not working well, there's a need to move forward in the church and maybe towards the center a little bit. As we look at the questions, number one, OK Corral. I think I said it clearly enough in the message that they know what that means. Hopefully, the illustration worked. And that's question number one. We have several application questions from the sermon, probably a little bit more heavier than usual. And that's sort of with a theme series you sort of build for the last week a little bit to some degree. And so you're seeing that. So just remember those. I just let people just tell you sometimes the pastor says stuff. That ticks people off. I mean, because it's sort of right there, and that's not a bad thing. Okay, now we don't necessarily want to make people upset, but the questions are worded in such a way that if there's something there, and they want to talk about it, that's okay in the groups. I mean, it's part of what we do. Especially the questions. Do you feel money and time are good barometers? People may say, hey, that's none of the that's not where it is. Or I'm upset about that. And there's room to have feedback there. That's fine in the groups and various things. And notice I try to include, multiple more opportunities. What are other barometers? Maybe if those are unfair, what are some things that are fair? Various things. In a lot of ways, where as you do culture change, you're trying to move and change and morph in the will of God, which we always should be. There are those close personal issues you got to deal with in some ways, and it's just part of what we are. So conversation along those lines. Even stuff that people are bothering, they think are unfair. Those are good conversations to have, and so don't shy away from them. As we look at the things, I only have one scripture reference, but it's a big one, 5-7, Matthew 5-7. If you wanted to, you could spend, I think, a couple hours on question 6, no problem. There's just a lot there, but if they were quickly to read it and write some stuff down, skim it down, that would be fine. But that's 3 chapters. I did have another one in there, and I actually took it out because I thought it'd be too much, too many expectations. Question 7, as we think about digging deeper, I think the important thing of this whole entire thing we're looking at with this kingdom stuff is we're all a work in progress. And there's room for improvement. There's room for me to improve, room for you to improve, room for everybody in your group to improve. And if we get that atmosphere sort of built up, even with questions that are close and various things, I think that's a positive thing where people then will be more receiving. Hey, I'm a work in progress. I need to look at things. I need to see where God's working in my life. And again, humility is the key to our walk, and that's what we want to cultivate a little bit with the groups. And so remember that as well. There's one question, what are some of your interests or hobbies? That's the question where you guys connect with each other. I hear we're learning a lot about each other in our groups. That's great. And I noticed a connection in the foyer and stuff building. It's a good thing. We're in still a tough season in our church. I know there's a lot of illness going on here, long prayer list for Sunday. So remember to pray for those in your group that are sick and various things. You sort of be a church within a church and help care for one another. I see that happening within the groups as well. I think that's great stuff. Question 8, as we look ahead, Scott and Rachel McNett will be here next week. I asked people to research the internet. I realize not everybody has the internet in their home, but the internet is a commodity in our society and our culture that's here to stay. We do have libraries that have internet. People go look. You can do this together if you want, various things. This is not to be offensive to those who don't have internet, but it's a fact that that's how people communicate, whether it's on their phone. I could go on my phone and type in Czech Republic and figure that out there, and that's just sort of the norm of our society a little bit, and so that's why we're using that. I guess if somebody had an encyclopedia or something like that, they could use as well. But there are some resources that maybe they have to go outside their home for that, and if somebody has a trouble with that, don't make a big deal about it, but whoever does have information, share it, because I think that's really going to help us as we prepare for our missionary speakers. In your prayer time, make sure you pray for Scott and Rachel McNett and what's happening in their life. I do hope your groups are praying together now. It's not one person. And maybe, I've been using pray to the person to the right or to the left of you or whatever it is, but just make sure your groups are praying together. That's something we want to accomplish as we go through. And I really hear good things about it. So anyways, I appreciate you. I'm praying for you. I'm glad I'm back from last week. I missed you. I missed sort of being around. I was out of routine trying to get the pile off my desk this morning, pushing it away. But anyways, but we'll take care of that. And you're loved, and I think this is a good thing. By the way, we're in week 8, believe it or not. Wow. Week 7 I meant, week 7, so we're almost finished. I may go one extra week here. I'm trying to figure out schedule-wise. We have a couple things going on in our church. I may go one extra week because our next session will be short as we go into the summer. So we'll only go to the second week in June, all right? So we'll have a little time off. In that time off, it may be good to cultivate or talk about maybe something your group can do socially during that time. We're going to end in March. We're probably going to go have 3 weeks off at least in April. And maybe there's somewhere in the middle you guys can connect and do something socially, whether you meet at a restaurant somewhere or you go over to somebody's house for a meal or whatever it might be. I think that'd be a great thing to be talking about at this time. Okay, and anyways, I've said enough, and we're doing good. God bless you.